The containment field shimmered like liquid mercury as Leo pressed his palm against it, for the 1,000th time. 3 years. 3 long years since the Drakari warriors had shot down his exploration vessel over their forbidden moon. Still testing the barrier, human? Elsa's voice carried that distinctive growl unique to her species. She approached with her usual predatory grace, crimson scales catching the bioluminescent light of the cave system. Her wings, massive and membranous, folded tight against her back. Leo turned to face her, no longer flinching at the sight of her elongated snout, sharp teeth, or the reptilian eyes that glowed amber in the darkness. Old habits, he said simply. Elsa was the youngest of the Drakari females who guarded this prison, a natural cavern deep within the moon's crust where they kept contaminating influences away from their civilization. To the Drakari matriarchy, any outsider was a threat to their rigid society. The matrons deliberate your fate again today, Elsa informed him, settling onto a rocky outcropping. They may finally decide to execute you. Leo had heard this before. 17 times to be exact. Each time the matrons postponed, uncertain what to do with the strange mammalian creature who refused to die from their harsh conditions, who adapted when he should have withered. Let me guess, Leo said, moving to the small workshop he'd created from salvaged debris. They're still arguing whether I'm sentient enough to warrant a trial. Elsa's tail swished, her equivalent of a laugh. You mock them even now. I respect them, Leo corrected, picking up a piece of metal he'd been shaping. I just don't fear them anymore. This was what fascinated Elsa about the human. When he'd first arrived, Leo had been terrified, as any prey species should be when confronted with apex predators. The Drakari stood nearly 8 feet tall, possessed natural weapons, could breathe fire, and had evolved on a high-gravity world that made them immensely strong. But humans, Elsa had learned, were terrifyingly adaptable. Leo had studied their language by listening to the guards. He'd learned their customs through observation. He'd survived their climate by engineering solutions from scraps. When the Drakari gave him no food, assuming he'd forage or starve, Leo had cultivated fungi farms in the darkness. When the cold should have killed him, he'd created insulation from shed scales and cave moss. What are you making now? Elsa asked, drawn closer despite herself. A gift, Leo replied. For you, actually. Elsa's pupils narrowed to slits, suspicion. Drakari warriors accept no tribute from prisoners. It's not tribute. It's a thank you. Leo held up his creation, a carefully shaped piece of meteorite iron polished to a mirror sheen, etched with Drakari symbols. You've been teaching me your history, your stories. That's worth more than you know. Over 3 years, Elsa had been his primary guard. At first, she'd been cruel, not from malice, but from duty. The Drakari didn't understand concepts like loneliness or boredom. They were solitary hunters who came together only for warfare or mating seasons. But Leo's constant questions had intrigued her. His fascination with Drakari culture had puzzled her, and slowly, against all her training, Elsa had begun to talk. She'd told him of the burning wars when the Drakari nearly destroyed themselves. She'd shared legends of the first flight, when her ancestors conquered the skies. She'd even confessed her own shame, that she was considered too small, too weak for a true warrior's path, relegated to prison guard duty. Now, looking at the carved metal in Leo's calloused hands, Elsa felt something her people had no word for. Connection. The symbols, she whispered, taking the gift carefully in her clawed hand. These are from the saga of Vihara the Valiant. Your favorite story, Leo confirmed. The warrior who was small but became the greatest general through strategy rather than strength. Elsa's membrane flickered, an involuntary display of emotion. You remembered? Of course I remembered. Leo smiled, that strange mammalian expression. You've kept me sane, Elsa. In this cage, your stories have been windows. You've shared your world with me when your people would rather I didn't exist. You should not exist, Elsa said, but her voice lacked conviction. You are weak, soft. Your species has no scales, no fire, no wings. Yet you survive. You adapt. You learn. You create. She held up the carved metal. You make beauty from scraps. What are you, Leo of Earth? Leo met her alien gaze steadily. I'm human. We're not the strongest or the fastest. We didn't evolve with natural weapons or armor. But we're persistent. We're creative. We connect. He gestured between them. Even across species that should have nothing in common. We find common ground. A distant rumble echoed through the caverns. The matron's council chamber, its volcanic vents opening. They summon me, Elsa said, rising. The judgment comes. Will you speak for me? Leo asked. Elsa's wings spread slightly, uncertainty. To speak for a prisoner was to challenge the matron's wisdom. It could cost her the little status she had, but she thought of 3 years of conversations, of learning that strength came in forms her people had never considered, of this small, scaleless creature who'd somehow become the first being to truly see her. Yes, Elsa decided. I will tell them what I've learned. That humans are not weak. That adaptation is its own form of strength. That your people's ability to find connection, even in captivity, is a power the Drakari have forgotten. Leo's smile widened. Thank you, my friend. Friend. Elsa tested the human word. The Drakari language had no equivalent. Perhaps that was the problem. As she launched herself upward toward the council chamber, Elsa clutched Leo's gift. She would speak for the human, and if the matrons refused to listen, she would do something no Drakari had done in 1,000 cycles. She would fight for someone other than herself, because that's what humans had taught her was possible. Connection across the impossible divide. And perhaps that was the most dangerous thing about humans. Not their weapons or their technology, but their infectious belief that even the wildest alien could become a friend. The end.